And why is that so? I mean, you can see that on the forefoot strike picture, the foot touches the ground with the pinky toe side of the ball first, then rolls over to the ball side of the big toe, and then touches with the heel. If you're not really sprinting, your heel actually touches the ground. But by the time the heel touches the ground, your body weight is already shifted over the foot, and so your arch of the foot works like a shock absorber. So it takes the pressure and absorbs it. And another thing is that when you do it like this, then your knee is also bent, so your whole leg works as a shock absorber actually. If you do it with the heel strike, then well, you can try it yourself. You can take your hands and do it like this, and you will see this is quite hard and there's a lot of impact. And that's essentially the same as running heel strike, because on your heel there's just a little bit of fat tissue, and then there's the bone right away. And most of the times when you run a heel strike, then even your knee is straightened, so this impact can travel all the way through your head. So by what Mr. Lieberman found, you can say that running via the forefoot strike, or the forefoot step as I call it, less violently, is much safer and much more shock absorbing for your body. Okay, another interesting thing is that you actually make your first steps in the forefoot step pattern. And this guy found out about it, at least in Germany. His name is Dr. Hans-Peter Greb. Hans-Peter Greb is a medical doctor, and he was working with obese patients with ear acupuncture, and he was helping them to lose their weight and stuff. And he told me that when he was working in his practice, he was always walking around barefoot or in socks, whereas his clients, who were like quite fat, to say that, really made a lot of noise when they were walking. And one evening he was walking home in what's considered to be normal shoes by the average person. I mean, shoes with heels and stuff. And he was walking home through an alley, and he could hear his steps. And at this moment in time, he was like, wow, wait, what's happening here? Because he like felt that during the day, walking was a totally different thing, because he couldn't hear his steps. And he was asking himself why. And then he found out that during the day he was actually walking with his forefoot first and not with his heel first. And now with those shoes he was walking heel first, and he could hear the noise of his steps, just as the noisy steps of his clients. And so he was digging into this topic, and he found out about one very interesting thing. It's this kind of thing. It's the so-called step reflex. I don't know if you have children or not, but if you have a child, then at least in Germany, after 3 or 4 days, there's a first initial checkup, a medical checkup, and they check a lot of natural reflexes. And if they're not okay, then the child has to see the doctor and stuff. And one of those reflexes is the so-called stepping reflex. And I will show you a little video, but before that I will tell you what actually will happen. You will see this little girl, and she's grabbed under the arms, and she's lifted over a surface, and she's going to make steps, and she's actually using the forefoot step pattern. The interesting thing is that due to the fact that she's very, very young, she can like really control the movements. So sometimes she's stepping with the heel first, but watch her retracting her heel and trying to step with the forefoot. It seems like she doesn't really like to step on the floor with her heel. It seems to be uncomfortable for her. So let's jump into the video and you will see what I mean. Okay, so now you can see that she's stepping, and watch her heel. Heel, no, heel, no, forefoot. Heel, no, forefoot. Heel, no, forefoot. So she seems to not like the idea of touching the ground with her heel, and she's rather touching the ground with the front of her foot. So you can see your first steps actually were forefoot steps. So that's kind of interesting, because at that time you weren't able to do anything but like sucking your mom's breast for milk, and you couldn't like turn around, flip around, walk or something, or sit. But it seems to be like hardwired into your system that you move your feet like this. And like the next step would be after about 1 year, and during this time you make your first real own steps without the help of your parents. And actually, if you have children, then you might remember that children make those first steps in a forefoot step pattern as well. They make these tiny little steps, walking almost just on the ball of the foot. And this one I also would like to show you some short videos about my daughter. And the first video, she's walking in a park barefoot, and you can see that she's actually not trying to walk on her heel. The second video is also my daughter running, and you can see she's very light, and her running style is very, she almost seems like flying. And if you remember the last runner you saw outside, or jogger or something, then you will see it looks totally different. Okay, so it's considered to be a more energy saving way of running if you do it on your forefoot. And the last video shows some other girls, because I was confused. There was another expert. He said like, oh well, my children don't do it this way. You run on the forefoot, but you walk on the heel. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't work. And so we checked out some other children just to see if perhaps my daughter's just copying me. And surprise, surprise, those other children, of course, used the forefoot step pattern. So let's jump right into the video, and you will see what I mean. So this is my daughter at 15 months, and you see that she's also walking on the forefoot. She's not trying to use her heel first or something like this. And at that stage, if I told her to do it in a certain way, then she couldn't like get it. She did it the way she did it, and it was obviously not a heel strike. You can also see the foot is slightly supinated, so it's like the pinky toe ball side goes down first. Okay, when was the last time you saw a runner laughing like this? Okay, you see she's having fun and she's enjoying it, and it's very light. And you can also see the foot is supinated and the forefoot touches first. So that's the way of natural running, basically. And in this next video, you will see the movement pattern of those other children. And I will skip a little bit to the front because the German text is not very relevant to you. And now you see the video. And just watch the little girl with the pink skirt, and she's gonna like touch a leaf with her right foot right now. And you see that she uses her feet for touching and feeling the ground and not stomping on it with the heel. Now they're running also in the forefoot step pattern, and then you met the girl before, and now her little brother who's coming in, he's also very like careful with the ground, and he's using a forefoot step pattern. Okay, so you can see that you used this pattern before. It's not new to you. Okay, so it's what you did in the early days, and actually you are using this pattern today. If you're walking in your natural habitat outside, then you would use the forefoot step pattern right completely naturally. Because if we would go into this forest and on this path, and you could imagine that there are tiny stones and sticks and acorns or something like this, and you're barefoot, and then just imagine how you would take your first step. Most people answer, well, I would touch the ground with the forefoot first because it's much safer. Some are very well stubborn, and they would perhaps take 3 or 4 steps with the heel first, but after the 4th stone in their heel, they would switch over to the forefoot step pattern quite naturally. And even if you would take it up a notch and you would walk right into the forest, and there might be some leaves in autumn, and you don't know what's under those leaves, you wouldn't touch the ground with the heel first because it's way too dangerous. You would touch the ground with the forefoot, and that's the very, very natural way of walking. And you would use the same pattern on this beach with those tiny stones or shells or whatever is on the ground, or in this kind of desert area with little stones and sharp rock on the floor, you wouldn't touch the ground with the heel first. And this is like different natural habitats we humans live in. And actually we're designed to be barefoot and walking in those environments without streets and without concrete and everything like this. So the forefoot step would be a natural pattern for us to use. And actually you're already using the forefoot step pattern. For example, when you're running, as I said before, when you're running, your heel doesn't even touch the ground. Or when you're walking sideways. I'm sitting right now so I can show you, but you can try to do side steps and you will see you will use the front of your foot. If you do it with a heel strike, then it looks rather funny and feels rather stupid. Also climbing stairs, sorry. Yeah, even climbing chairs as well, but climbing stairs would be like you take a step and you touch the stair with the forefoot and you probably leave your heel up in the air. You don't even touch the step with your heel, even if the stair is broad enough. And the funny thing is that if you reverse the pattern, if you descend stairs, you also do it in a forefoot step pattern. You wouldn't like go down with the heel first. You would go down with the forefoot touching and feeling for the floor, just as the baby does in the step reflex. Jumping as well. If you jump with your forefoot up and then land on your forefoot as well. If you land on your heels, then this causes a lot of trouble and you will be a good client for your doctor, and you will have all your joints down there like broken and destroyed. Dancing as well. I'm not a dancer, but if you imagine people dancing like Latin dance or something, most of the times they are like very light-footed and touching the floor with the front of the foot. Or walking on the same spot. That's kind of funny. If you just stand on the same spot and you walk, then you naturally do a forefoot step pattern. You can do it in a heel strike pattern and you will see it feels really stupid and it looks really stupid. So automatically you do it in a forefoot step pattern. And so on. So whenever you move in a dynamic way, whether it's boxing or a skipping rope or something, you will use the forefoot pattern. You will never use a heel pattern, not at all. So it's interesting to see that it's really a logical way to do it this way. Okay, that's the end of part 1. Hope you stay to part 2. But don't forget to like this video and perhaps you even subscribe to the channel. That would be cool. And you will find the link to the next video down there in the video descriptions. It will be the first link. And then we will see each other in part 2 and talking about the advantages for your body.